we go again. We're going to cover Havoc number 2. This is a Scarlet Spider tutorial. So, I'm going to take the next 15 minutes to explain that I'm the Scarlet Spider, not Spider-Man. Granted, I come from his DNA, because I'm the Scarlet Spider known as Ben Reilly, the original McCoy, versus the black guy and the other Scarlet Spiders from different universes that don't really exist, because I'm a clone. So, let us begin. In 1975, Stan Lee and Marvel wanted to spice up Spider-Man, so they made a clone. They gave this big-ass war thanks to Miles Warren and the death of Gwen Stacy, who Miles Warren initially wanted to clone because he loved his niece. Might have been some strange shit going on in the Stacy household. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But he really did love his niece because that was like the only, I guess, child in the family or however that works. But that's not relevant to my story. Now, there are currently another Scarlet Spider. His name is KIA. He's a clone of someone who didn't have superpowers, so they gave him superpowers, or however the hell that works. Go Google that guy. But I'm not that guy. I'm the actual clone of Peter Parker, aka I am Ben Reilly. There was a big clone war, then there was a big clone saga, and then there was maximum clonage. And I once took over as Spider-Man, only to die by a glider from the Green Goblin. Let's begin. So, if you see this outfit, there's a giant spider there. My web shooters, because Ben Reilly, not Peter Parker, had the impact webbing. Let's make sure you got that fun check. Ben Reilly, impact webbing, because as his clone of Peter Parker, he remembers the death of Gwen Stacy vividly, because it's one of the only memories that he truly has that made him think that he was Peter Parker. Not knowing that Miles Warren had already cloned Gwen Stacy and took her somewhere else. We don't know if she had her memories or anything, and there's a whole lot of other stuff that might have been retconned. But the one thing that hasn't been retconned is that Ben Reilly, the original clone of Peter Parker, was killed by the Green Goblin. Now that might have been retconned by now, but I don't know. So, the only thing that's not part of the actual outfit are my gloves. My gloves I put on for twirling, in case someone brings me a lightsaber. And, nunchucks, bow staff, that kind of thing. Which, by the way, Ben Reilly doesn't use. Now, the web shooters, I designed them myself. I got my bro getting me some different ones. And once I get enough money to find, like, the ones Black Widow has, so Scarlett Johansson, if you're listening, send me yours. For the Avengers. Because Ben Reilly's are more like that instead of these bullets that I glued together and tape. I might find some extra elastic and cover the whole thing. I'm still trying to figure that part out. But anyway, so Scarlet Spider is a clone. He still has the super strength, the spider senses, and photography and great eyesight. The same thing that Peter Parker has, Ben Reilly has. The only difference between the two is that Ben Reilly is a clone, and he dyed his hair blonde so there could be a differential. So the spider suit that Spider-Girl wears, as in Mayday Parker, in the What If universe, was Ben Reilly's suit. Then somebody else took this suit and they were tag team partners as the Spider-Girls or some shit like that. Not here or there. So, let's break this down. Genetic scientist Miles Warren decides that he hates Spider-Man more than anything else on the earth. Spider-Man, who's Peter Parker, is secretly dating Miles Warren's niece, who is Gwen Stacy, whose father is Captain Stacy, who is a police officer. Spider-Man gets into a fight with the Green Goblin. Green Goblin throws Gwen Stacy off of a roof of the GWB, one of those little port things, and Spider-Man slings his web to catch her, and on catching her, it snaps her neck. Spider-Man goes away. Everybody believes that he is not a hero anymore after this. However, due to some retcons and all the other shit, they considered it an accident, which it was. Now, Captain Stacy, on the other hand, wants Spider-Man's head. Again, due to some retcons, look past that. Now, as far as Ben Reilly is concerned, there were 3 clones that survived the Clone Wars, unless that's been retconned too. Yours truly, Ben Reilly, Kane, the original, and one more, but they don't recall what happened to him. He's like that same mystery thing that just no one ever figured out what happened to him. Now, that may have been retconned, making it only 2 clones. Kane, the original, who had a genetic defect which scarred up his face, which is how Miles Warren found out that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Because when Kane was formed, he looked exactly like Peter Parker for about 5 minutes. And then his face just discombobulated and got all kinds of messed up. Well, Ben, spot on. So, Ben woke up believing that he was the clone. No, excuse me. Ben woke up not knowing he was the clone. There was this big fight, and all the Spider-Men were fighting each other, and all the Spider-Men started getting confused, because apparently there was a mindless glitch, and so only 2 Spider-Men walked away. Kane, I don't recall if he was there. Now, this is happening back in 1975, so you're going to have to go find this comic book to confirm what I say. And my memory's a little twisted because I've had some concussions, so everything's not going to be 1,000% accurate. Let me get that out there right there. But for the most part, bear with me. Everything is as close to accurate as I can get without going through the retconning of Spider-Man. Okay, so you have Ben Reilly, you have Spider-Man, and you have other clones just rumbling it out. So in the end, I guess both of them were in 2 different sections of the fight. Peter goes this way, Ben goes that way, and Peter carries a dead body, which he hides, not knowing who it is. Peter knows that he's Peter, or at least he thinks he's Peter, so he runs off. Ben thinks that he's Peter. He checks in every now and again and sees that the clone that is actually the real Peter is living an extravagant life, his old life, so he wanders off and becoming a wanderer while being hunted down by Kane. Are you with me so far? So Ben Reilly, who does not know he's the clone, he thinks he's the real deal. While Peter, who also thinks he's the real deal, goes off, marries Mary Jane, and they're living pretty good lives. While the Scarlet Spider is basically nowhere to be found in the pages of Marvel at all. Until maximum clonage becomes a thing. Now, before we go too deep into maximum clonage, before we go too deep into Spider Side and all the other clones that still existed or whatever, because Spider Side might have been that missing clone. However, due to retconning, that's probably not Spider Side's origin. But it was Spider Side and a couple of other guys. And I can't remember who they are, so please go Google them and then send me a reminder of who they are. I know what they look like, but I can't remember the name. Spider Side had the power of basically Mr. Fantastic. He could stretch. He didn't really need web shooters because he could just stretch out and grab everything. So that was him. But there were 3 other clones doing maximum clonage that also wanted a piece of both Ben Reilly and Peter Parker. So during that, the Ultimate Saga boiled down to with the trial of Spider-Man. And I think that came in between the maximum clonage books. And then you get to fighting both Scarlet Spider and Spider-Man wind up with their backs to back, and they're fighting a fuck ton of spiders, which Spider Side and the other 6 guys are involved in. By the end of it, only Ben Reilly and the Scarlet Spider remain. I do not remember what happens to Scarlet Spider, and no, Doppelganger is not a clone of Spider-Man. He is actually a Spider-Man from a different universe. Of course, unless there was some retconning involved. We all know that magical word of retconning, because retconning ruins everything. Okay, so, now, you got Scarlet Spider, who's wandering the Earth for 5 years, according to the comic. Give or take a retcon or 2. In that absence, Scarlet Spider is being chased by Kane. I heard something. So I'm getting prepared to grab one of these damn lightsabers and go to somebody's ass. Anyway, matter of fact, for safety purposes, let me grab that right now. So anyway, Scarlet Spider is being pursued by Kane. This is where Scarlet Spider's story begins. As he's wandering the Earth, I am ready to fight. I can't see worth shit, but if you come within striking distance, you're mine. That's just putting that out there. I'm also recording live. So if I die, you guys all have something good to laugh at. Okay, so Scarlet Spider is being pursued by Kane. Kane is a clone of Spider-Man who's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, a whole lot more huskier in the muscle department. So there's issue 1. He's chasing. Ben Reilly's picking up odd jobs. He's going by Ben Reilly, using Uncle Ben's first name and Aunt May's maiden name, because he still thinks that he's Peter Parker. So, and he doesn't want to disrupt the clone's life, because he's actually happy that Peter Parker, who thinks he's the real deal, is doing well for himself. Far better than what Ben Reilly was doing when he thought he was Peter Parker. Okay, so in his journeys, he's battling other supervillains, not too many that Spider-Man dealt with, but enough. And he's dealing with this godforsaken clone named Kane, who's hell-bent on killing him. I mean, Kane will stop at nothing to hurt, kill, maim, decapitate the Scarlet Spider. So, eventually, Ben Reilly has been all around the United States, possibly Canada, maybe even Australia. Doesn't really matter, because give a retcon or two, and none of this shit matters. So, he does everything he needs to do, and he finds himself back into New York. But he finds himself in a situation where he wants to be Spider-Man again. He no longer wants to don the red and blue. There can be only one. He doesn't want to don the red and blue. He literally wants to put on the red and blue O suit versus the sleek, chic hoodie and keep his stuff. However, he takes a little journey and somehow bumps into Miles Warren, who insists that Ben Reilly is not the clone. So now there's a problem. And this happens before the maximum clonage thing begins. He goes to Reed Richards, and they go to somebody else, and that person confirms that Ben Reilly is not the clone, and that Peter Parker is the clone. So for a while, Scarlet Spider's doing his thing, Peter's doing his thing, Mary Jane pops up pregnant, and everything goes to hell, given a retcon or two. So after that, what happens is, they inform them that this is going on. So Ben and Peter, they have some discussions, and eventually, Peter wants to be a daddy, Ben wants to be a superhero, not just a dishwasher, and voila! Now the Scarlet Spider is back in the original Spider-Man suit. They started off doubling, one day Peter Parker, one day Ben Reilly, and then if there was ever a problem, there would be more than one Spider-Man. Okay, I know that sounds really messed up, just go Google it. So, I'll say, knocking a retcon or two. So, that being said, now you have one Spider-Man covering Queens, and one Spider-Man covering Manhattan. Because where's Hell's Kitchen? It's in Manhattan. Who works in Hell's Kitchen? Not just Daredevil, but the Scarlet Spider. But now he's Spider-Man. And his identity gets blown, and he's dating the girl that blows it, and all kinds of other stuff goes on. And all that happened after the Clone War, which leaves you wondering, what the hell happened to Spider-Side? Jackal was either killed or arrested, and now you have to worry about Norman Osborn, who organized his enemy, aka the Green Goblin. And so in doing this ultimate coup, he makes Ben Reilly believe he's the Spider, and Ben Reilly knows that he's Spider-Man, and Peter Parker knows he's a clone, but they're okay with it because MJ's gonna have a baby. Retcon, because then it went to one more day, and Peter Parker gave up his marriage, which I think was a crock of crap, but I don't work for Marvel, so I can't say anything about that. But anyway, so in the end, if you see this suit, minus the lightsabers, this is so you can get a good look. I am the Scarlet Spider. Can we make that one thing 1,000% clear? I am the Scarlet Spider. I am not Peter Parker. I am not KIA. I'm the genuine article Ben Riley. I am the Scarlet Spider. I want to thank you guys for watching on Instagram and here on Kung Fu Havoc number 2. It's been fun. I hope you guys learned something about the Scarlet Spider. Be seeing you Kung Fu